Good day, everyone. The topic that I will going to discuss is all about teaching as a profession and the 6 elements of profession. Profession refers to a paid occupation, especially one that involves prolonged training and a formal qualification. Let's proceed to the 6 elements of profession. And these are, discuss first the initial professional education. So before we become professionals, we must study first. We are required to study our chosen fields in a certain university to be qualified or pass the qualification, which defines initial professional education. One is accreditation. To be a professional is not easy. Why? Because as what I have said earlier, we are in a long process of preparation, wherein our government approved university programs in order to ensure that graduates from these recognized programs start their professional lives with competence. So, the third one is licensing. The government authority in the Philippines that is administered and implement that licensing is mandatory is the Professional Regulation Commission or the PRC. In teachers, to become professionals, we must take and pass the licensure examination for teachers or LET, professional development. Just like what they say, learning is a lifelong process in which it connects the definition of professional development. It is because professional development refers to an ongoing professional education which aims to maintain or improves professionals' knowledge. The professional societies. So as professionals, we should also see ourselves as part of the community who put professional standards above the individual interest. Because professional societies put dedication to the public and commitment to moral and ethical values. Code of ethics. At this part, the Code of Ethics covers what professionals should do. And we can be able to know that if a certain professional is violating the Code of Ethics, then he or she can be ejected from their professional societies or lost their licenses to practice as a teachers. A teacher who violates the Code of Ethics for professional teachers is one of the reason or grounds for the revocation of the professional teacher certificate of registration and suspension practice of the teaching profession.
Teaching is a noblest profession which comes with so much responsibility and duty towards the students. Not only to teach and to impart knowledge, but to inspire and motivate students' life and takes an important steps in life. Teaching is a job or a mission. So, if teaching is a mission, it is a calling. It is a great opportunities. You choose teaching because you love it. You are ready to sacrifice yourself in different challenges in life. You face different behaviors or characteristics on your students. Ready to conquer challenges. It is a mission. And also you're not expecting high salaries. You're enjoying it. But if a teaching is a job, you're doing it because you are paid. You take it for granted. You don't have a choice. I choose teaching because I want to earn money. I want to be rich. I want to be popular. And I want to have a luxurious life. That is a job. But the important is teaching that you are willing to commit and to sacrifice your life. Model of effective teaching. So first model is Robert Marzano's Casual Teacher Evolution Mode that has 4 domains. First domain is classroom strategies and behavior. Involve events such as communicating learning goals, establishing rules and procedures, addressing content by helping students with interact, new knowledge, practices, and deeper knowledge. Second domain is planning and preparing. So the teacher plan and prepare his/her lessons before she or he conduct teaching. And what technology to be used? So the teacher provides slideshow presentation in order that the student has effective approach. Third domain is reflection on teaching. Teacher should evaluate the strengths and weaknesses of his learners. And the fourth domain is collegiality and professionalism. So the teacher monitor the positive interaction with the students, with the workmates, and the environment as well. So that's all the Robert Marzano's model, that how to prepare, how to achieve the effectiveness in teaching.
Nelson, the framework for teaching, in James Strong, Teacher Effectiveness Performance Evaluation System, TPES system, are the topic that given to me to discuss. It is a set of components that outlines a teacher's responsibilities. It is also divided into 4 domains. One is planning and preparation. 2. Instruction. 3. Classroom environment. 4. Professional Performance Evaluation System, TEPS. So it is a comprehensive, uniform evaluation system that consists of teacher, educational specialists, and leader components. There was a 6 TEPS performance standard. 1 is professional knowledge. 2. Instructional planning. 3. Instructional delivery. 4. Assessment of our learning. 5. The learning environment. And 6 is professionalism. So instructional planning, so the teacher plans using the state standard, the school curriculum, and engaging state strategies.
Will be the one to be discussing the macro model or the mid-continent research for education and learning. Under this model, we have 5 considerations. First is teachers demonstrate leadership. Second is that teachers establish a respectful environment for a diverse population of students. Third is that teachers know the content they teach. Of course, they need this to address misconceptions and to relate one idea to another. Fourth is teachers facilitate learning for their students. Is the teachers reflect on their practices. What is PPTS? PPTS stands for Philippine Professional Standards for Teachers, which is built on NCBTS. Complement the reform initiatives on teacher quality from pre-service education to in-service training. It articulates what constitutes teachers' quality in the K-12 reform through well-defined domains, strands, and indicators that provide measures in professional learning. Professional standards, or the PPTS, therefore become a public statement of professional accountability that can help teachers reflect on and assess their own practices. Following describes the breadth of 7 domains that are required by teachers to be effective in the 21st century in the Philippines. First domain is the content, knowledge, and pedagogy. First domain is composed of 7 strands. First is content knowledge and its application within and across curriculum areas. Second, research-based knowledge and principles of teaching and learning. Third, positive use of ICT. Fourth, strategies for promoting literacy and numeracy. 5, strategies for developing critical and critical thinking, as well as other higher order. 6. Mother tongue Filipino and English in teaching and learning. 7 is classroom communication strategies. Domain 2 is learning environment. It is to provide learning environments that are safe, secure, fair, and supportive in order to promote learner responsibility and achievement.
Presidential Decree number 1006. It is entitled Providing for the Professionalization of Teachers, Regulating Their Practice and Other Purposes. It is declared by the late President Ferdinand Marcos, whereas the Constitution provides that all educational institutions shall be under the supervision of and the subject to regulation by the state, and requires that the state shall establish and maintain a complete, adequate, and integrated system of education relevant to the goals of national development. Whereas the supervisory function of the DEC has been primarily beamed towards ensuring that the educational institution inculcate in the studentry love of country. Sections under the Presidential Decree number 1006. Section 1. According to this section, it focused to the professionalizing teaching. Section 2. Declaration of Policy.
Section 3. Definition of terms.
As used in this decree, the following shall be construed as follows. Section 4. Creation of National Board for Teachers. In Section 5. Powers and Duties. Section 6. Qualification requirements for examination applicants. So there is a requirements to be needed, being a good moral character, free from any physical and mental defect, and he or she should possesses the following minimum educational qualification. For teachers in the kindergarten and elementary grades, Bachelor of Degree and Elementary Education. For teachers of the secondary schools, Bachelor's Degree in Education or its equivalent with a major and minor. For teachers of secondary vocational and 2-year technical courses, Bachelor's Degree in the field of specialization with at least 18 units.
Section 7. Appointment of examiners. In this section, it recognizes the authority in teacher of education. After the examination, they shall each receive as compensation the sum of not less than 5 peso for each examinee, as may be determined by the board. Section 8. Scope of the examination. Section 9. Rating in the examination. In this section, the candidate of examinees, he or she must obtain general average of at least 70% subject with no rating below 50% in any subject. Section 10. Report of the result of examination. In this section, the examiner shall report within 150 days after the last day of examination. Section 11. Issuance of the certificate. Teacher who have passed examination given by the Civil Service Commission, the board may consider their certificate of rating a certificate of eligibility. Section 12. Civil Service Commission shall register the holder of professional teacher certificate unless the certificate is suspended or cancelled by the board for just cause. Section 13. Reinsurance of revoked certificate and replacement of lost certificate. If they lose the certificate, the board may issue another copy, original or duplicate, upon payment of required fee of a certificate, for a reason of equity and justice.
Section 14. Registration by reciprocity. Any person who has given an approval by the board and validly registered under the laws of any foreign state or country. For example, I am a validly registered as a professional teacher here at the Philippines, and I have my license as approved. Then, I found out that the US country is searching for some teachers and they provide the same privileges that they give to their country. So I will just present my document as a proof. Section 15. Any person who doesn't have any certificate as a proof that he or she considered as a professional teacher has no rights to act like a professional teacher. Section 16. If a person practices teaching without a certificate that will serve as their proof, or they will present false or forged evidence in order to obtain a professional teacher certificate, or any person violating any provisions of this decree shall be penalized by a fine or not less than 1,000 pesos nor more than 5,000 pesos with subsidiary imprisonment. Section 17. All acts, decrees, executive orders, administration's order, rules and regulations, or parts hereof inconsistent with the provisions of this decree are hereby repealed or modified accordingly. Section 18. In case any provision of this decree or any portion thereof is declared unconstitutional by a competent court, other provisions shall not be affected thereby. Section 1. This act shall be known as the Philippine Teachers Professionalization Act of 1994. An act to strengthen the regulation and supervision of the practice of teaching in the Philippines and prescribing a licensure examination for teachers and for other purpose. Section 2. The state recognizes the vital role of teachers in nation building and development through a responsible and literate citizenry. Towards this end, the state shall ensure and promote quality education by proper supervision and regulation of the licensure examination and professionalization of the practice of teaching profession. Section 3. This act has three objectives, and that is A. The promotions, development, and professionalization of teacher and the teaching profession. B. The supervision and regulation of the licensure examination. Definition of terms. Teaching. It refers to the profession concerned primarily with classroom instructor at the elementary and secondary levels in accordance with the curriculum prescribed by the Department of Education, Culture, and Sports, whether parts and basis in the private or public schools.
Article 2, Board for Professional Teacher. Section number 5. Creation and composition of the board. The board is composed of 5 members, including the chairman and a vice chairman, appointed by the President of the Philippines from among the recommendees by the Commission. Section number 6. Duties and function of the board. Prescribe and or adopt a code of ethical and professional standard for the practice of teaching profession. Investigate such violation of this act, the rules and the code of ethical and professional standard of the profession. Section number 7, Term of office. The member of the board shall hold office for a term of 3 years from the date they assume office. No person who has served for 2 consecutive terms shall be eligible for reappointment. The chairman or any members shall take his oath of office prior to the performance of his duties. Section number 8, Qualification of the board member. Each board member must, of the time of his appointment, first, be a citizen and resident of the Philippines, be at least 35 years of age, of proven integrity, and possess of high moral values, be a holder of a degree of Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Science in Education, be a professional teacher with valid certificate of registration and valid professional license, has been a professional teacher in the active practice of teaching profession for at least 10 years in the elementary and secondary level. Section number 9, compensation of the board. Chairman and vice chairman and members of the board shall receive compensation comparable to the compensation received by the regular board under the professional regulation. Section number 10, supervision of the board and custodian of its record. The board shall be under the supervision and control of the commission. All records, including application for examination, examination papers, and results, minutes of deliberation, administrative cases, and investigation involving professional teachers shall be kept by the commission. In section number 11, Secretariat and Support Service. The Professional Regulation Commission, through its chairman, shall provide a secretariat service to implement effectively the provision of this act. This and last, section 12, removal of a board member. The President of the Philippines may remove the chairman or any members of the board upon recommendation of the Commission for neglect of duty, incompetence, unprofessional, unethical, immoral, or dishonor, conduct, commission, or toleration of irregularities.
Number 13. So in this act, it's all about examination, registration, and license required. So all applicants for registration as professional teachers shall be required to undergo a written examination. So it explains that any person is allowed to practice as a professional teacher if that person has a valid certificate of registration and a valid professional license from the commission. The section number 14 is all about the scope of examination. Examination for teachers in elementary and secondary level will be separated. Why? Because the examination for elementary level shall consist of two parts, namely professional education and general education, while the secondary level shall consist of three parts, so namely professional education, general education, and field of specialization. Section number 15 is all about the qualification requirements of applicants. So applicants should comply the following requirements. So what are those requirements? So number 1, a citizen of the Philippines, of course. Number 2, at least 18 years of age. Number 3, in good health and good reputation with high moral values. And lastly, has that been convicted by the final judgment by a court. Section number 16, which is the report of the result of the examination. So in this act, it tells that the examiner shall be wait for the result within 120 days after the examination. Section number 17, which is the issuance of certificate of registration and professional license, it explains that registration of a professional teacher commences from the date of his or her name is enrolled in the roster of professional teacher. Therefore, those examiners who successfully pass the board examination, their name will be enrolled in the roster of professional teacher. In section number 18, which is the oath before practice, it explains that every registrant shall be required to take his or her professional oath before practicing as professional teacher. So, those board passers are all required to take their professional oath so they can start practicing as professional teacher. Section number 19 is all about the periodic merit examination of teachers. So it explains that educators will be given a free oral and written examination at least once in 5 years as basis for merit promotion. So why? It is because they are being encouraged to continue their professional growth and development and to provide additional basis for merit promotion. So, in addition to their performance rating. For section number 20, which is the failure to pass the merit examination. So, it explains that in this article, a teacher who fails to pass the merit examination,
he or she will be allowed to take the examination for a second time. So even examiner will not pass his or her first examination, he or she will be given a chance to take for a second time. And section number 21, which is the incentives, this section is for those teachers who pass the merit examination, shall be awarded a diploma of merit by the board, earn merit points for purpose of promotion in salary or to higher position or grade level, and be placed in a priority list for government scholarship, and lastly, enjoy such other benefits as may be promulgated by the board. In section number 22, which is the integration of the teaching profession, it explains that teachers are being encouraged to become a member of the integrated with the board within 3 years, because they will receive a benefits and privileges pertinent to their membership in the said integrated and accredited organization. In section number 23, which is the revocation of the certificate of registration, suspension from the practice of the teaching profession, and cancellation of temporary or special permit, it explains that if registrants who have the following issues, such as conviction for any criminal offense, so the board shall suspend or revoke their certificate and to cancel their temporary and special permit. Section number 24, which is the registration by reciprocity. So in this section, it said that no teachers of a foreign nationality shall be admitted to the examination or be given a certificate of registration. So it explains that the foreign nationalities, such as American, are not allowed to take examination here in the Philippines unless he is or she is a Filipino. So for section number 25, which is the roster of professional teachers, so it explains that a roster of professional teachers containing the names and addresses of professional teachers, date of registration or insurance of certificate, and other data which in the opinion of the board may appear pertinent shall be maintained. So lastly is that section number 26, which is the registration and exception. So in this section, it explains that no person shall engage in teaching and act as a professional teacher unless he or she is already a registered professional teacher and a holder of a valid certificate of registration and a valid professional license, or a holder of a valid special and temporary permit.
In Article 4, that talks about the provisions relative to the practice of the teaching profession. In Section 27, it includes about the inhibition against the practice of the teaching profession, which means that no person shall practice or offer to practice the teaching profession in the Philippines without having previously obtained a valid certificate of registration and valid professional license from the Commission. In Section 28, that talks about the penal provisions, which means you can be punished by a fine from 5,000 pesos to 20,000, or you can be imprisoned for 6 months up to 5 years if you practice teaching profession without being certified in accordance, if you attempt to use your own certificate of registration, and etc. In Section 29, that talks about appropriations, which includes in the 1996 General Appropriations Act and thereafter. Section 30, which is implementing guidelines that formulate and adopt the necessary guidelines that the board shall submit to both committees of education, education, arts, and culture. Section 31, transitory provision, that all incumbent teachers in both public and private shall be given 5 years temporary certificates. Separability clause, which is the Section 32, is declared unconstitutional or invalid of the provision to any person. Section 33, The repelling clause, all laws are hereby repealed or modified accordingly. Lastly, the Section 34 effectivity clause that takes effect after 15 days.